It happens to everyone. Waiting in line for your morning coffee, you scroll social media and news on your phone. What you find depresses you. Thousands of migrants are fleeing a civil war, risking their lives only to be turned back at borders. Speculations have sent the housing markets into a frenzy, and employment numbers are tumbling down. Journalists have uncovered a decades-long cover-up of child abuse by coaches and doctors within competitive gymnastics in your country. Closing the news app, you open your family group chat. Maybe one of your siblings has posted something funny, and at this rate, you could use some cheering up. The group chat has blown up overnight, and what you see makes your heart sink. Bushfires are raging again, and there's one burning only 2 suburbs over from where your cousins live. Everyone is frantic with worry. At this point, you walk away, coffee in hand, tense, miserable, and confused. You think, this can't go on. Something needs to be done. Someone needs to step up. We need a plan to fix all this social injustice, economic chaos, and environmental destruction. This is where the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, come in. Fixing the kinds of problems that bring your entire day down in the morning coffee line can't happen in just one way. The SDGs cover sustainability from different angles: socially, economically, and environmentally. They set
You can't see it on the outside, but this old industrial neighborhood is an agricultural oasis. Inside this former laser tag arena, about 250 kinds of leafy greens are growing in huge quantities to be sold to local supermarkets and restaurants. This is Aero Farms, a massive indoor vertical farm in Newark, New Jersey.
Our mission is to build farms in cities all over the world so people have access to fresh, great tasting, highly nutritious food.
Crops are stacked more than 30 feet high inside this 30,000 square foot space. They're grown using aeroponic technology.
Typically in indoor growing, the roots sit in water and one tries to oxygenate the water. Our key inventor realized that if we missed nutrition to the root structure, then the roots have a better oxygenation.
Aero Farms says the root misting system allows them to use 95% less water than a regular field farm. They also use no pesticides or herbicides. Instead of soil, plants are grown in reusable cloth made from recycled plastic. And instead of the sun, there are rows and rows of specialized LED lighting.
A lot of people say, sunless, wait, plants need sun. In fact, the plants don't need yellow spectrum, so we're able to reduce our energy footprint by doing things like reducing certain types of spectrum.
This sophisticated climate-controlled system cuts the growing cycle in half, so crops can be grown all year round, but with a much smaller impact on the environment.
There's all these stresses on our planet. 70% of our freshwater contamination comes from agriculture. About 70% of our freshwater usage goes to agriculture. 1/3 of our arable land has been degraded in the last 40 years. All these macro trends point to the fact that we need a new way to feed our planet.
One of the early champions of vertical farming is Columbia University ecologist Dickson DePommier. In 1999, DePommier and his students proposed that vertical farms could feed overpopulated cities while using less land and less water. They would also cut greenhouse gases by eliminating the need to transport food over long distances. And the idea is finally taking root. Over the past few years, vertical farms have sprouted all over the world, including in Vancouver, Singapore, Panama, the UK, and around the US. Here in Newark, Aero Farms is building out another new farm in a former steel mill, one that's bigger than a football field. Once it's fully operational, it's expected to produce 2 million pounds of greens a year, all grown vertically.
We listen to the plants very carefully to try and understand what they're telling us and try and optimize all these different qualities of a plant. It's a tough business, but it's one that's going to stay and it's going to have a bigger and bigger impact.
Do you think vertical farms will help solve our food production problems? Let us know in the comments below. And check out this next episode to see how this major US city is striving to become zero waste.
When I started at Recology 23 years ago, the recycling rate was around 38%. Today, we've more than doubled that.
So far, San Francisco has diverted 80% of its waste away from landfills, and its success has been getting global attention. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more Seeker stories.
Yeah, good morning, dear advocates, joining us from every part of Nigeria. Hello, good morning, dear advocates, joining us from every part of Nigeria. It's a great delight to have you on the third week of the masterclass session for the SDGs Advocate Programme. And I believe it's been an insightful one all the way from week 1. And here we are again for the next session. And by the grace of God, we'll be having 2 different sessions this morning. The first one is on project management and community development, and that will be handled by Mr. Bolaon and some other team member of Project Management Institute. And they'll be giving us some introduction to project management as it relates to different aspects of development and social good. And also the second session will be on circular economy, consumption and production. That will be handled by Mr. Abioye Oluwafemi. He is the founder of Similarities and Food. And quickly, we are going to start with the first session, which will be on which is going to be on project management as it relates to things that we do day to day. And this morning we have some experts in our midst that are going to be handling this session. And for the next 1 hour, I believe you are all prepared. You've prepared your notepad on your pen to document different points. And starting that session this morning is, like I mentioned, is Architect Bola Oye Oyelaki. And Architect Bola is the Vice President, Membership and Outreach of Please, those of us on Zoom, can you please all right, thank you. Architect Bola is the Vice President, Membership and Outreach of Project Management Institute Nigeria. And those of us that have heard about project management, and if you don't heard about it, you can just quickly Google it and check what project management is all about. Yeah, they are doing great work. And also is the Managing Director of Casting Crown Company, one of the leading green building companies and environmental sustainability practitioner in Nigeria. We are glad to have you on this call, Architect Bola. It's a pleasure to have you participating in the session on project management and community development. Good morning.
Yeah, Emmanuel, good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Okay,
Doing
sorry.
fine.
Let me try to put on my video.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Can you kindly give me access to share? I don't know.
Yes,
if
you have the access. You have the access to share your screen.
Perfect. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with us in this masterclass session, and thanks for the introduction. So I'm sure that what I will be discussing with us today, okay, in the next couple of minutes, is something I know a number of us are excited about, which is project management. So without wasting much of our time, let me just go ahead and share my screen so that we get started. And by the way, for those of us who are joining on YouTube, I would just like to hear from us. Just say hi, hello, and let me be sure that we're on the same page and you can hear me. Okay. So I'm going to be talking to us about project management. And of course, my name is Bola. So if you get to see me out there, you can just say hello to me, call me Bola or Pearl. The focus of my discussion with us this morning is basically on introduction to project management. I'm sure that a number of us might have been hearing about project management. What's project management all about? How can you develop interest in project management? What kind of skills or tools and all of that? So basically I'll just be giving some kind of introduction to project management. And I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, you would have come to understand what Project Management Institute is all about. Okay, know the basic definition of a project and project management, get to know the essence of project management, the importance of project management, and also discover some of our product and offerings. Okay, and also you discover the need for you to be part of the project management community, which PMI offers. Then I hope that you're going to decide to be part of this community. So these are some of the things that I hope we're able to achieve this time. Okay, so let me start with the organization itself, because it's important for you to know where the knowledge that I want to relate with you is domiciled. Okay, so that when you are seeking for information out there, to be easy for you to navigate, to connect with the platform or the community where you can organize your thoughts and your interest in project management. So Project Management Institute is the world's leading and largest professional organization, okay, that administer and regulates, regulate the practice of project management in the world. So it's a global organization, okay, and the organization has an authority, okay, over the continuous growing community. Currently, we have the community consisting of over 1 million project professionals and project leaders. So ranging from individuals to students, we have membership within the military, cut across all disciplines and all walks of life. Okay, so the organization also developed through research and learning process, project management standards, frameworks, methodology. So some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you, which I believe you're going to apply to your current projects that you're about to execute, okay, are part of the standards, frameworks, and methodologies that have been developed through our research work. And I believe you can actually adopt them, okay, for best practices in order for you to create and develop values, okay, for the communities where you're meant to execute the project. So we also empower people to turn ideas into reality. The organization focuses on, creating values by turning ideas into reality. Then we also create and deliver value through advocacy, okay, collaborations, part of what brought us to be part of this masterclass, and also through networking, research, education, and career professional development. So it's actually a journey, and it's usually a lifelong journey. And I'm happy that some of you, if not all of you, are going to be deciding today to begin that journey, okay, as you begin to execute your project. Again, it's important for you to understand the concept of project economy, right? Because we live in a world where there's continuous change, where the continuous change is necessitating adaptability for people to be able to deliver values, to be able to create benefits, okay, in all spheres of life, in areas where you're finding relevance, either as a volunteer or as a professional or project leaders, okay, leading in different dimensions. So the concept of project management as it were today is that organizations and people around the world are focused on portfolios of projects, okay, because it is only through the dimensions of project that you can create relevance. You can become relevant to solving problems. I'm sure that SDSN is actually focused on solving problems. When you're talking about community problems, you're talking about environmental problems, you're talking about the need for sustainability, right? So in order to organize thought and organize actions towards this, it necessitates you developing portfolios of projects. So within the project economy concept, we are talking about new ways of doing things, right? In order for you to turn ideas into reality. Okay, so the project economy is the one that drives people with necessary skills, capabilities, competencies that are needed for them to be able to turn their ideas into reality. So PMI organizes this process of thought within the project economy in order to ensure that there is consistent delivery of value to people and generally to stakeholders within community. So these are some of the things that you have to be relating, with as you're trying to plan and execute projects which you have initiated, or the ones that the community or your stakeholders will initiate and put on your table for you to develop certain alignment with value streams. So this is what project economy is all about. So you can begin to look at the context and the content of the project brief or the initiated project that you have at hand individually, whether it's going to deliver value or not. Because within project economy, value must be delivered, benefits must be derived. So these are the concepts that forms the basis of you driving projects, which I believe as we're going on, you must relate with. Let me quickly take us through fundamental definitions. When you're talking about project management, there are certain definitions that you must have at hand, you must have in your forehead as you drive different ideas within project portfolios. The first one is to know what exactly a project is. What is a project? How much I wish we're actually having this as an interaction, kind of, so that we're able to know the foundation of each and everyone who is listening to me participating in this session. But basically, a project is a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to create a unique product or a service, or it might be in terms of you deriving results or executing certain outcomes, deriving or delivering benefits and values to people, right? So if you look at the context of this definition, there are keywords that you must underscore. The first one is that it is an endeavor. And what qualifies this endeavor is that the endeavor is not in perpetuum. The endeavor is temporal. Okay, so anything that you can establish with that characteristics forms the base of a project, can be classified under a project. Because beyond projects, you have other streams okay, which we are not going into today. We're focusing on projects. So the first characteristic of a project is that a project is an endeavor and it's a temporary endeavor. Okay. The second one is that it has to be undertaken. Okay. You don't have the endeavor okay, in lying down without any action. So a project, an action has to be taken. For you to call a project or an endeavor a project, it must be carried out. It must be executed. Okay, so when I take us through the process of project management, you discover that action or execution is a critical process, is a critical group when you're talking about project management. Okay, then the third characteristics talks about a unique product, not just an ordinary product. Many people carry out projects, there is without having that visibility of uniqueness, without having visibility of creating, uniqueness, something that is different from every other thing. So there are new ways of doing things in order for you to be able to achieve your results or deliver your service in a much better and acceptable way. So that talks about the uniqueness of what you're trying to do, right? So as you are ideating your project, as you are planning, or as you are preparing to begin your execution, make sure you have at the back of your mind what unique delivery are you about on this project? How unique with your product? So it brings about or necessitates the issue of creativity, innovations, and all of that, which we might need to look at as we're talking on. The other definition is project management, because now we want to talk about the concept of project management. If we know projects, then what does it mean to manage a project? That's what project management is all about. It's basically, applying or utilizing specific knowledge. You have this body of knowledge. When I was defining, that's why I started from the organization. The organization has a way of organizing thoughts, okay, through research, development of products, and delivering of offerings, and all our research works. We come up with specialized field of knowledge, okay, which we turn into what we call book of knowledge, BOK, okay, for us to be able to practice the management of projects. So the application and the utilization of this specific knowledge, the development of skills and competencies, or you developing certain capabilities, that will enable you to utilize the tools and techniques that have been developed, right, by the organization and its affiliates, okay, in order for you to deliver this unique product or this unique service, and let people, your stakeholders, actualize or realize the benefit and value, okay. It's what project management is all about. I know I've said so many things, okay, but just try as much as possible to pick those keywords. You're applying specific knowledge. So if you don't have the knowledge, you don't have any business even in delving into project management. And that's why we have realized that we have more accidental project managers than not, okay? And we don't want that stream to continue. And that's why we're engaging with this thought and this masterclass session, right? Because we want everybody to develop the specific knowledge, to develop the specific skills, tools, and know the techniques on how to navigate through managing projects successfully. Then the other thing is to look at the dimensions of projects, because we have 4 critical dimensions of a project. The first one is talk about the project size. The second one is talk about the technicality of managing a project. You're talking about the degree of complication. So this has to be determined in order for you to be able to properly define how the project needs to be managed, or how you're going to apply the tools, the skills, and the competencies that you have, right? So the third one talks about understanding stakeholders' relationship, the degree of complexity, because stakeholders are very, very key. They are key criteria that determines the success of a project, either by looking at the interest they have on the project, or by evaluating and assessing to determine the power they have over the project. So this complexity has to also be, the dimension of this complexity has to also be considered. And the fourth one talks about your certainty. I'm sure that before 2020, a lot of people, if you have been hearing about that vocabulary, uncertainty, a lot of people don't necessarily relate with it. But at the outbreak of COVID-19, the pandemic, it became one of the commonest words, in the world, apart from love, religion, and other things. Uncertainty became one of the commonest words, because we need to deal with changes, okay? Everyone has to adapt to changes, and that's where the concept of uncertainty. So on every project, there's this degree of uncertainty that need to to be determined, the dimension of a city that needs to be managed and planned properly for, so that then you can begin to now talk about areas where you can manage changes and also deal with risk that comes with changes. So these critical dimensions are what will help you to define from the set goal, because project failures and successes are not usually defined at the end of a project. They are determined right from the set goal. If you are right there ideating, you will definitely know if you are doing the right thing or not, that will lead into a project success. And that's what these 4 dimensions are meant to help you to do as you navigate through the project management process. The other thing I would like to talk about before I move on is about the project talent triangle, just in passing, because like I said, changes, because projects, there is a big force, okay, that is driving projects, and that's the concept of change. One thing that is constant in life is change, okay, and it is progressive, it is continuous, right? So you need to understand the evolution of change when you are managing projects. So as time goes on, you begin to see areas where there's a need for necessary adjustment, necessary adaptation, areas to glean and attach yourself with new body of knowledge, okay, new skills that you need to develop, either in the area of innovative technology or excuse me, or in the area of learning new tools and techniques, okay, that can deliver quick results to you. This is what the talent triangle is all about. So there are particular set of leadership skills which we call power skills that you must know. So if you're talking about project managers, it's not just only limited to you just knowing what a project is all about and knowing the project processes, then also understand how to lead a project to success. Okay, so leadership is a very vital talent concept that must be adhered to or must be developed if you must lead a project or manage a project to success. Then the other thing talks about the understanding the technical ways by which you can execute your projects. Okay, we call them different ways of working. Okay, so when you understand the skills, the tools and techniques that you need to develop as to impute certain processes and determine the kind of outcomes and values you want to derive or benefit you want to deliver at the end of the day, then this holistically, drive, success on project. And the last one talks about the strategic business management process, which we refer to business acumen. Okay, when you look at all of these, they are actually internalized skills or internalized characteristics that a project manager or a project leader must have in order for him her to be able to drive a successful project. Then let me just talk to us about this other important concept, because it's important that you know that for you to achieve success on every project, you are going to contend with what we call project constraint within the project economy or within the environment or project business environment or community, in your case, where you're about to execute the social good project. The first one talks about, when you look at this Venn diagram, you discover that there are critical elements, that explains the constraints, right? The first one talks about the scope of the project. And by the way, when you get within some project management knowledge areas, knowledge fields, they will tell you that you have 3 major constraints. Yeah, they're major constraints, but the constraints that you have to deal with or contend with on project are more than 3. It's just that they kind of like encapsulate the whole concept of the constraints. So I will just mention the first one to be scope, and what you're actually going to be contending with when you're talking about project scope is that you have to evaluate the deliverables, project deliverables. What are you actually delivering? I talked about the success, I talked about the service, the product, I talked about the value, the benefit you are going to deliver. Okay, so what exactly is this all about? Because that is what you're going to use to define a completion, or you're going to define the end of the project, the closure of the project. If you don't know the deliverables, if you don't itemize the deliverables, then it will be difficult for you to evaluate at the end of the day whether your project has been completed or not. So that's the essence of scope, and you have to deal with this. So how you manage your scope is a very important process, is a very important activity you do throughout your project life cycle. Then the other one talks about schedule and time. Okay, never mind this nomenclature. Some of us might not be very conversant with some of this nomenclature. In project management, we call time schedule. Okay, so as you are ideating from your initiation process, you move into your planning process. What you want to be doing is to be putting timeline, time tags. You want to put time face, okay, to each of these deliverables. What are you going to do per time in order for you to be able to ensure that you deliver the project on time or in time? And because sometimes, even when you want to define project success, time is a vital element, okay, is a critical criteria for you to use as a measure of determining the success of a project. So you want to ensure that the specified time that you are meant to carry out the project is what you have worked on. An example is what you have been asked to do. The project brief that has been given to you is meant to be delivered within a certain fixed time. Imagine if you eventually get it done, but after the final submission, do you think that you are going to be scored successful or not? You are going to definitely be termed to have failed to deliver that project, because the project, probably by the time you're delivering it, had already passed the usability phase and all of that. So all of this has to be put into perspective. Then the third one talks about the cost, or what we call budget. So budgeting is a very critical element of project management, which must be put into consideration, because as you are planning to execute a project, right, you want to ensure that you have a plan or a process in place that maximizes your cost saving. Okay, so you must determine your cost saving actions. You must have you must put into perspective things that will ensure that you don't spend more than you budget, or more than is expected of you to spend. For instance, if what you are meant to do is supposed to cost 100 naira, at the end of the day, when you start executing, because you fail to properly plan and budget adequately, then you notice that you're going to be spending way more than that, like let's say 300% higher. Then that means at the end of the day, the project will fail. So these are things that, if care is not taken, if you don't know how to properly manage them. Sorry, can you mute the person that is, okay, thank you. If you don't properly plan for this major constraint that you'll be contending with, it will eventually lead to project failures, right? So it's a critical factor which must be evaluated. So when you look at the Venn diagram again, you see intersections between scope and schedule and budget and scope and all of that. What this intersection portrays is to tell you that even as you are interacting with these three fundamental constraints, there are other constraints, there are other contending factors and forces, that emanate. An example is the resources. Then you have to start thinking about how to manage resources. Resources, either in terms of tangible resources or human resource, or even intangible resources. Of course, time will not permit to go deep into each of these project groups and elements. Okay, so as you're interacting between scope and budget, you are going to be considering what I call risk. So the issue of risk management is also very critical. It's a critical factor. If you fail to plan and prepare properly for risk by developing risk mitigation plan and all of that, at the end of the day, projects will fail. Then you also see the intersection between scope and time or schedule that talks about how you want to deliver a quality value, a quality service, not just an ordinary service, not just a mere unique product, but a quality product at the end of the day. So you want to ensure that you don't delve into scope scraping. You don't even try to kind of like go plate your scope, just because you want to impress. You stick strictly to your quality plan, okay, and ensure that you put proper monitoring and evaluation strategy or plan in place to ensure that while you are delivering those benefits or those deliverables, you are working with time and you are working within the frames or the criteria of your quality assurance. So in whole, right, what you're trying to do is that you are putting your customer in focus. I'm still talking about project execution and things that you have to contend with in terms of constraints that will determine whether your project will be successful or it's going to fail. You are putting your customers into perspective, because these are the people that will derive the benefits or that will enjoy the value. So if you are not considering your customers, the end users, you are not considering the end product owners, right? At the end of the day, you might have, done all of these other gymnastics in terms of your planning for scope, for time, blah, 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 the quality is good and all of that. And the people that are supposed to, benefit or enjoy value from what you are doing will just reject it. And that is why when you look at the landscape, the project landscape, even in our country, you see a whole lot of project failure, because what eventually determines the real success on the project is when the project has been properly accepted, when the project has been completed and fully accepted, or it creates the necessary value that it had been defined to create. So holistically, at the center of all of these activities are the customers, the end users, which you have to, do proper stakeholder management to define who are your end users, who are your customers, who are the community beneficiaries, okay, that you must consider in order for you to have a successful project. Then every project in these terms, in these current times and seasons we live in, are classified under the concept of sustainability. Because what sustainability is talking to us about is, yes, we are trying to solve problems, because projects are meant to solve problems. You are delivering unique product and unique value to people in order to meet their critical needs and solve nagging problems in the community. So what you're trying to do is, you are not just solving problems, you are solving problems that are associated with sustainability. And what exactly is sustainability? Sustainability is just a process or a way by which you try to solve or mitigate these present problems, okay, using all of the necessary tools, skills, and management ideas that you have in such a way or manner that you do not impact wrongly or, effectively, hamper the opportunity for future generations for them to be able to, deliver their own or solve their own problems. Because problems, as time goes on, as changes occur, okay, problems keep emanating, keep emerging. The kind of problems that I'm sure that we have in our community, maybe about 10, 5, 6, 7, even 2 decades ago, is not what we have currently. Now we are talking about economic problems and all of that. Probably maybe a few years ago, it wasn't really a problem. Now we are talking about leadership problem. Probably a few years ago, it wasn't a major problem. We are talking about educational problem, okay? Maybe not necessarily a major problem. So how do you drive, sustainable solutions in this area? In the project economy is what the whole of project management processes and the whole of activities in contending with constraints are all about. So sustainability is very key. And I'm happy that this is the basis of activities of SDSN, which you're part of. Let me move on quickly because time is first spent. So why project management? It's important that you understand the project landscape in our world, starting from our immediate community. Currently, Nigeria, this year, 2022, plan to spend about 1.2 trillion naira on infrastructural projects. And you can imagine, you can start doing your maths, right? You can start doing your maths and imagine how much is going to go into different specified or initiated, excuse me, projects which the country had budgeted to spend on. And also 2.11 trillion on human capital development. All these are ways to drive projects. There are ways by which projects will be initiated or have been initiated. So when you go through different locations in Nigeria, you see different capital projects or infrastructure projects ongoing, either in terms of tangible projects, capital project now, or in terms of intangible projects, in terms of maybe trainings and human capital development and all of that. So this is the humongous amount of money that has been projected. We are currently in the 9th month, so you can be rest assured that if not 70%, but probably about 60 to 65% of this amount of money would have been injected into projects through borrowing or other means of revenue generation that the country has been able to develop is GDP. So here is the question: who are the people driving this project? And what is the relevance of managing this project to determining the successful delivery of the project? So this is exactly what project management is all about. And that's why we need to evaluate the reason for project management. In Lagos, for instance, last year, 60% of the annual budget, which was put at 1.16 trillion, was planned and spent on capital projects. If you do your maths, if my arithmetic knowledge is not deceiving me, I think that should be put like about 700 billion naira. So last year alone, Lagos State spent over 700 billion naira on executing capital project. The question is, as this budgeting, as this spending interpreted into solving a nagging problem in the community? So you cannot begin to imagine the reason for project management. Was it because those projects they spent this humongous amount of money failed? That isn't why we can't see the value and derive the benefits in our communities. Okay. Then looking at the global landscape, okay, it is assumed by research that nearly 7.2 zillion, I'm sure that there is no calculator here that can do that, right? About $10 trillion okay, over the global gross product on projects, which is put at 29.3 zillion, is spent every year. This is an average cost. You find in some times, maybe at a particular quarter, that it might even shoot beyond this, right? Especially for third world countries where there's a need for aggressive driving and implementation of infrastructure projects because of depletion of infrastructure projects. You can imagine what happened in the past few months between Russia and Ukraine, the depletion of infrastructures in Ukraine. I'm sure that by next year, moving into next year, if the war ends this year, there will be aggressive need, okay, for project development and infrastructure development, restoration and all of that in Ukraine, right? So these are the things that you can evaluate that necessarily, okay, project the need for project management, because all these project ideas or project needs must be driven by a process, and the process is what we have defined, or must, applications and use of tools and technologies must be deployed to ensure the successful management and driving of this initiatives. Okay, so it is all of that we believe that project management necessitates the importance. Then we want to talk about some of the statistics of project failures. Why I'm emphasizing on this is because I don't want any of you to embark on the project that right from the set goal is determined to fail, right? If you look at statistics of why projects are failing, is alarming. And these are supposed to be purposed professionals or leaders, project leaders, and even rich men spending billions, trillions of naira on projects every year. Imagine 66% of technological projects that emanate from technology landscape globally fails. Globally, every year, 66%. So when you see new technologies come out and all of that, you see them wipe off immediately. Okay, MTN is trying to drive 5G network and all of that. We are praying that will not fail. We've seen other networks try to drive new initiatives that are supposed to add value to the community and our country and all of that. Fails. Okay, so how do we ensure that these statistics change or reversed? Is through project management. Then you have 70%. In fact, let me come down to our country. Okay, between 67 and 70% of the projects that are initiated in Nigeria fails simply because there's no proper dimensions to project management. And honestly, if there's anything that I want you to take away from this conversation, from this masterclass, is the fact that you have to decide today as change makers, as impact change makers. You have to decide today to be part of the people that will drive successful projects within the project economy, because that is exactly what you're all about. You're all about your volunteer services, your interest in community development is about delivering benefit, delivering value, ensuring that you drive successful projects. And through project management, you can ensure this without much ado. So what are the advantages of project management? Number one, it helps you to better control your finances or your budgeting, as the case may be, and also evaluate both your physical and human resources, okay, either the tangible or intangible one. So you have the capacity or the ability to be able to control that. Then it also helps you to improve on customer relations in terms of how you manage your stakeholders. It also helps you to manage your time, because every project, when I talked about the characteristics of project, it's talking about that a project has a start time and it has an end time. So a project is done within a time frame, okay, it's time bound. So how you manage that to ensure that you can even deliver a project earlier than it is expected successfully, are one of the things that project management will enable you to do. And also the way you deliver the values and the benefit, because things keep changing. The more you deliver on the project, the more you have a time lag on the project, the more the chances for that project to fail and for people not to deliver value. And that's exactly what you see everywhere, most especially in public space where there are public infrastructure projects. And in Nigeria currently, you can imagine how much government alone is spending, how many private individuals or companies or within the private sector are going to spend this kind of amount of money on delivering projects, because businesses, for-profit businesses, are about maximization of profits, right? So if care is not taken, the sector or the people that spend more money in executing projects are the ones that don't even have plans or management process to ensure that they deliver the value. So at the end of the day, we spend more, we don't get commensurate value or benefits to what is being spent. And trust me, when you're talking about public sector, it is about you and I. okay? It's about you and I. It's our money. The fact that you and I are not in government driving this project does not mean that it is our money they are spending on our behalf, and yet we are not getting commensurate value to it. So project management will help you to achieve the quickest and the highest results when you're executing project. Then talk about management of quality and reliability of success. Then talk about, explain about sustainability. Project management is what helps you to drive sustainability successfully. Then also maximizing profits on projects. People have been talking about how you can execute the same project less. It's project management that will help you to do that because of your cost management system. Then you talk about the internal coordination and all of that. So these are part of the advantages. Advantages are numerous, but these are just part of the advantages. I would like to quickly talk about project management processes because for your project you're about to embark on, it's important you know how to go about it. Because what you don't know, you don't know. When you're ignorant about the thing, trust me, becomes the main pain point that will lead to project failures. So we have what we call project management processes and entirely the project life cycle. So we have 5 processes that every project must undertake. Every project endeavor must go through for you to be able to know that, yes, I'm actually doing project management. Briefly, because for the sake of time and also the context of what we're discussing in this masterclass, I will not be talking deeply into it, right? This slide will be shared with everyone. We can go over it, and by the time we have the main training, I'm sure that we'll be able to discuss in detail each of these processes with us. The first one talks about initiation. The next talks about planning. Then you talk about execution before you move into the 4th phase, which is about monitoring and control and evaluation as a tool. Then the final one is about the closing, right? What are you doing at initiation? You're actually taking your brief. You are going into the community for you to ensure that you collect requirements. You understand exactly what the project is supposed to deliver. So there you want to even understand who are the people or who is the person that is meant to drive this. There's something we call project charter. It's at the initiation phase that you determine your project charter. You understand how this project and who this project is meant to benefit and who is going to actually drive this project. So if these are not done at the initiation phase, you can be rest assured that if you move into planning, you're actually going to plan to fail, right? They say proper planning prevents poor performance. That does not necessarily apply, okay, in project management. If you fail right from initiation, you can rest assured that throughout the entire project life cycle, you will just be recurring failure and all of that. So the first stage is about you getting your deliverables right, understanding that the value you want to deliver are going to be acceptable, okay? So you have a lot of performance of definitions and, determining the stakeholders and all of that at the initiation phase. Then you move to planning. It's all about you establishing what's your scope, you highlight and itemize the deliverables. I want to do A, B, C, D, okay? And then you define how you are going to, what kind of actions. That's where you plan for your execution, okay? You don't get into the field to start doing before you start planning what you want to do. You start planning what you want to do right from the planning phase, okay? And then you put time phrase or time, you determine the timelines of how you want to deliver each of the deliverables. The interesting thing about Project Management Institute is we've been able to develop through research tools and techniques, right, that you can use to simplify the processes. Like when you are doing initiation, you want to deliver, you want to do project charter, you want to collect requirements and all of that, or you want to even understand your stakeholders, or even refer to lessons learned from the previous project or similar project that have been done within the organization. The truth of the matter is you have tools, you have techniques, you have templates that you can use. These are part of what you will get in Project Management Institute. Then you move into execution. Execution is basically where you are going to carry out the job, you get the job done, right? So as you are doing your execution, depending on the project management system you are using, the methodology you are using, is either you are going back to your planning, right, to adjust one thing or the other before you now take it up. That we call it iterative process. Like you are going through iterative mode. You are going through iterative system in such a way that you have actually planned, you deliver something, then you go back, you have what we call retrospective meeting for you to be able to determine whether you need to adjust something and then plan for the new set of actions and all of that. In that, we call it agile methodology. It's an agile process. Unlike we have the traditional method, waterfall method, where you plan everything, and then you just move like you have a static, you move into the execution, and it's what you have planned, that you just execute, nothing more. Okay. So while you are doing in Agile, switching between planning and execution, you are actually ensuring that you have proper monitoring and evaluation process system in place. Okay. Because what you want to do is you must review and track those plans and then your actions to be taken or actions that have been taken, because you have put certain criteria in place in terms of checking your quality, in terms of checking the performance of your resources and all of that, and even the way your budget and your cost management is performing, is doing. Okay, so because all you are doing through monitoring and control between these two processes or these two phases is to ensure that at the end of the day you have a successful project. So it's when you have now finished all the deliverables, you've achieved every bit of all the specified deliverables, okay, all the actions that you have put into your work packages, it is then that you now move into the process of closing the project. And what you do in closing the project phase is basically for you to define, using a checklist. I'm talking about tools and techniques again now. One of the things you do in closing is to use a checklist to tick out all the deliverables, that this is done, this is done, this is done. You evaluate all again and ensure that they are all completed to zero. And you now take a feedback from the people that you have delivered those values and benefits to. So your project is not done until you have gotten a feedback. Now you see communication in place, even at the closing phase, right? You have to ensure that the people, the customers, the community dwellers, the people receiving your project, they are satisfied, okay? So that's what you do when you are closing the project. Then you now develop your lessons learned. And simple, that's how you go about a project. But the interesting thing about it is, if you don't have the knowledge, there's no way you can actually, navigate through this. So as I'm closing, because of time, let me just take us through some of the products that we have in PMI. I told you we have a whole lot of products and offerings, that will help you to have a smooth transition from whatever you are right now into the world of project management, and for you to grow your competence and continue to grow your learning and your skills in becoming a successful project manager and a successful project leader in the area where you are currently volunteering. 7, we have a lot of professional certifications, of which in your own case, I think the beginner stage is applicable to you, and we call it CAPM, that's Certified Associate in Project Management. So I believe after this conversation, you'll be making up your mind, okay, to want to get certified as a project manager, being a CAPM credential holder with project management. We have enabling environment, we have processes, we have mentorship program that will enable you to successfully go on this endeavor, right? So if anyone will be desiring to have CAPM, you want to sit for the exam, please do well to reach out to us. And of course, you can discuss with your coordinators, they will reach out to us. So we have other certification frameworks too. By the time you go through this slide, you'll see all of them, because like I said, it's a progressive learning process. So you don't just say because you have learned CAPM, it ends there. In fact, we have a renewal process for all these certification process. So after 3 years, you are meant to renew your certification to revalidate that you are still in tandem with the knowledge. Okay. So we also have, Agile, because of the necessary drive within the change management portfolio and landscape. Okay, where we have developed a product that is called Discipline Agile. So we have certifications on Discipline Agile, which is meant to drive the management of change process and all of that. And of course, the new ways of doing things. So you see all of this, which are things that you need to begin to look forward to in the nearest future for you to also move into that dimension to practice as an Agile practitioner on driving project or leading projects. Then we also have micro-credentials and courses. What these micro-credentials are all about, which I will be advising at the end of the day that you take advantage, at least just to kind of like put yourself in that project management environment to begin to interact with this body of knowledge. Okay, we have free courses that you can take, free. I mean it, free, 100% free. All you need to do is just to follow the instructions I'll be handing with. Okay, once you do that, you just connect with it. And the one that you can take free of charge is what we call kickoff. So you have 2 micro credential that you can earn if you take kickoff, is kickoff Agile and also kickoff Waterfall. I'm sure on the slide you can see those badges. So when you have successfully finished the 2 free micro credential courses on project management, the kickoff, you'll be able to earn the Agile badge, kickoff badge, and also the kickoff waterfall badge. So you might want to decide to take any of these as applicable to your different areas. If you're in the built industry, that's in the construction industry, or if you're in any of the agile environments, either in IT or in community social works, or you're in hospitality and all of that, we have different micro-credentials and courses that you can take to enable you develop further knowledge in that area. Then we have some other ones in transformation, which applies to learning IT, acquiring IT skills and knowledge, okay, without even background in coding. We call this in development, okay. So we have courses on that. You don't need to have any idea about Python or Java or COBOL or whatever, any programming language. It's like zero or little code courses that you can take for you to acquire skills in order for you to drive projects and lead projects successfully. And also, if you are within the organizational management system structure, like we have your coordinators, we have some of your team leaders who forms base of your team leads, you need to understand how to organize properly within your. So we have some other mobile tools too and offerings. Okay, so you can just look at some of these things, go there, download the tools, and begin to interact with them. And these are things that will help you have handy information as you are planning and driving your project. And lastly, how do you join project management? Please, I will enjoin all of you. By the time you receive this slide, go through this last few pages, because it's not something I can explain in full terms, okay? But the most important thing is we are currently running a promo, right? There's a global promo given to us in Nigeria and other African countries that you can, join the membership of Project Management Institute, both as an individual and also as a local chapter member, right? So part of the benefit is that you are coming into the community of these change makers, because we are building a community of change makers. And currently in Nigeria, we have almost about 1,000. We are gradually getting to about 1,003, and we are trusting that you are going to also be part of that. We have students too, okay? So we want to ensure that we have change makers. We have people that can drive some of these initiatives that you're doing, okay? And ensure that projects are successful anytime project is executed or implemented. So you have a lot of benefits. Part of what we're sharing with you are part of the benefits. So you have continuous interaction, knowledge sharing. You have places where you can exchange experiences on projects. You can even get jobs. You have job leads within our connections and communities. Then we have opportunity for volunteer services like you are doing in SDSN. I'm sure you have that robust system for you to do more community service within SDSN, as we're partnering now on reaching out to more communities. Then also our discount services, like the one we are offering you right now, okay, which is 50% discount. You have more of this. So just go through these full steps for you to do your registration. It's free to register, create your account. You have your personalized account on the website. Then you can now go ahead to take advantage of the promo code for you to become, it's 50%, like I said, for students. I think in total now what you're going to be paying is just about 18,000 naira, thereabouts, okay, for students as to become a student membership. And let me emphasize as I close, the benefit is when you are writing any of these exams, you have a discount to earn on any exam you want to write, any certification you want to write. There's always a discount, which is usually between about $150 and above. To if you are not if you're a non-member, if you are not a member, imagine how much $150 is. If you are writing CPM, for instance, you are rest assured that you are going to be having to pay less than if you are not a member. So I encourage every one of you, take advantage. This promo code is going to end next week, Thursday. So don't wait until next week, Thursday. If you need any further information, you see the emails there, you see the phone number, please reach out or you talk to your coordinators. I'm sure that they will be able to help to connect you with us. I'll be able to help you to get this sorted. You don't need dollars to pay. We have the system for you to pay in Naira, and you are good to go. Thank you. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you, Architect Zero. Thank you so much for this great session. You just led us on project management. And I can say that this is just the tip of the iceberg based on the training we are still planning to have. And we are going to share more information on that in due course. Quickly, I also want to recognize the presence of the president of Project Management Institute, Nigerian chapter, in person of Mr. Paul Mugbe. Good morning, sir. We are glad to have you on this call. And also, I want to recognize the presence of all other stakeholders and leadership of PMI Institute. Thank you for joining this masterclass session. And definitely, I know that you are still going to have share one or two things before you leave the call. But we have various questions from participants on YouTube, and I'll be asking like 3 questions at once, and I will appreciate you attend to it briefly. So the first question is from Promise Jumbo. He asks that how do we work and plan in the project life cycle with monitoring and evaluation? He asks that how do you work and plan in the project life cycle with monitoring and evaluation? And Okoro also asks that can you emphasize more on, can you emphasize the, the mitigation risk for a project? Esther asked about the registration process. Definitely the slide which he shared with us details more about the registration process. And we are still going to tell you more about that and share you more information about the promo, which is currently going on. So, and the third question we are also going to attend to is from Oluwole Olushola. Understanding the importance of financial support as their NGOs to collaborate with. And the last question is from Yinka Oluwatobi. How can someone manage stakeholders, for instance, communications without serious cost? I will appreciate you briefly attend to this question.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. I have my other colleagues here. You just mentioned about Paul, the president of Project Management in Nigeria here. So I'm sure that some of the things I'll be giving as a response, if they too have further contributions, I'm sure when I'm done, they should be free to do that. I have the Vice President Professional Development also here in the person of Taiwo Upola and other colleagues. Okay, so on the first question, how can you manage or how can you plan for monitoring and evaluation or control? Like I said, what I just presented to us is just to have an overview, right, of the project's processes and generally process groups, project management groups, process groups, right? I did not go or delve into explaining the nitty-gritty of each of the processes. And by the way, you have 5 project management process groups, then you have about 46 or 47 processes that you do within these process groups. Okay, you have 10 knowledge areas, starting from your project management integration. You have your communication, you have your human resource, you have your procurement, you have all these things are playing. And there's something we call project management mapping. When you look at the map, you will see how each of these phases, each of these within the same project life cycle. What project life cycle is just about 5 things you do within project life cycle, and you go right and you end, right? You start from your initiation, you go to your plan, okay, then you do your execute, then you do your monitoring or evaluation or control, then you end, you close, and you keep going around like that as long as you are doing an iterative process, okay? But if you want to plan, anything you are planning, you do at the planning phase, either within the iteration or within, if you are using waterfall, for instance, all your plans has to be done prior to you going to execute. What you don't plan for, you don't execute when you're executing, right? So that's a process. So the details of what you will plan for when you are embarking on monitoring and evaluation or control, okay, is dependent on the type of project you are doing, because at the initiation and planning, you must have defined your scope and all of that, right? So it's either you have actually planned for quality, the criteria that you're going to use to determine quality, to monitor quality, okay, or even communication management or your stakeholders management. These are some of the things that you want to check and monitor, that they are in tandem with your project processes and other activities that you are doing when you are in the execution phase. So we have tools, we have techniques. There are different methods and techniques that you can use in doing all of this, either at the planning phase for what you are going to monitor and evaluate or control, even including your budget, how you plan for your costs, and how you manage and monitor the utilization of your cost for savings or you know when you're actually, going over budget or below budget or within budget and all of that. So you have tools and techniques all over it. And that's why I say we will have another training session where we'll take you through all of this, because it's not something you can learn within a goal, right? So you have to be prepared that when they reach out to you, an interesting thing about it is the training we're going to conduct for you is going to be free. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of this process. When I started my project management journey, I never had this opportunity. So it's something exciting and fascinating as a tool that you need to embrace this opportunity. Anytime you get to hear about the training, make sure you inform your friends and the part of it. Then also we have, maybe I should just mention before I answer the second question, we have PMI Nigeria Youth Club. These are part of conversation we have because it's a continuous knowledge process. It's not something you just learn in one day. Like imagine if you want to become a doctor, you have to go to school to learn for 6 years, do your housemanship the 7th year, before you even go after again for like about 2 or 2.5 years for you to do your specialization before you start practicing as a practitioner, medical practitioner. So it takes a process. Any discipline, including project management, it takes a process, right? So be willing. That's why I said you must desire and develop that yearning today that you want to be a project manager and a project leader for that matter. And then you start the journey. And we are here to help you through the journey with all the offerings and all the community platforms that we have created. And of course, in our partnership with SDSN, of which you are part of the network. About the second one, sorry, can you remind me, Emmanuel, the second question? Hello, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you there? Hello.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Please,
all right.
can you just retrieve the second question, please? Because I think the first and the third are the same.
The second question is kindly emphasize on mitigation risk for projects. And the last question is how can someone manage stakeholders, for instance, cost communication without serious cost? Or cutting, I really don't know how you wrote it. I believe it's communication without serious cost. How can someone manage stakeholders?
Okay.
Then the second question, can you emphasize on mitigation risk?
Okay. Like I said, it still boils down to you trying to understand the processes, the tools. There's something we call ITTO, input, tools, techniques, and outputs, right? You want to get an output, which is like you want to manage your stakeholders. So how do you manage your stakeholders? So there are certain inputs that you must file in. You imagine you have a computer before you. You must type in some codes for you to be able to allow the computer, either the program or whatever tools you are using on your computer, using a particular technological technique to process your inputs for you to be able to get the desirable output. The same thing with project management. You must be able to understand right from your planning phase. Remember what I told you when I was discussing about initiation. There are things that you must do when you are initiating a project. If you don't, and you move to the next phase, you have already given a gap or an opportunity for failure on that project. So you need to have the knowledge. There are things that you must have as an input into you initiating the project. There are basic information you must have at hand when you're initiating the project. There are activities that you must embark on when you're initiating the project. There are kind of engagement you must have. There are some, especially you that you are going to be doing community projects. You must have certain community engagement. You don't sit in the office and plan community projects. You go into the community, engage the community, because they are they are critical stakeholders. Apart from whoever is going to be sponsoring the project, who might sit anywhere in the world or be conversing with you virtually, the receiver, the customer, the consumer, the end users are also part of the critical stakeholder. So how you manage them, we have tools, we have techniques, we have skills, starting from even your leadership skills, your power skills. We have templates on how you can, there's something we call stakeholders management templates. We have several techniques, we have methodologies. This session will not, will not give you the opportunity to start narrowing them down one by one and all of that. That's why I'm emphasizing that. Make sure you are part of the training we're going to have, right? We're going to have a training where all these areas, we're going to delve into them and explain them even relating them with different scenarios. I saw on the YouTube, someone mentioned about me giving them a scenario and all of that. Time will not permit us to do all that. So be prepared that you should join the session when we have it. All of this will be dealt with when you have, and some questions that you may want to even ask. I'm sure when you go through that training, all those questions will definitely be answered. Thank you. I don't know if my other colleagues have anything to contribute to it. I have Timolu, I have Paul, and I have Taiwo.
Okay. Thank you, Architect. Before Mr. Paul comes up, I also appreciate you quickly speak more about the registration process, because we have a very short time to 29th of September, because I know definitely each and everyone needs to grab the opportunity right away. We appreciate you talk more about that, the registration process, both for student membership and organization membership.
Absolutely. Okay. What I've done is to simplify the process. Just like if you are paying in Naira, it's just like 2 or 3 clicks and you're done. The first one is go to www.org/account-registration. Sorry, I missed a high in my registration. So registration as pronounced, okay, for you to create an account, because the first thing, you are a new member in PMI, you have to create an account and have a personalized account, individual account on the website. So once you press this link on your browser, it takes you directly to where you're going to fill a form to create so you don't need to start navigating and be looking for where to click on register and all of that. Just type www.pmi.org/account-registration. Once you click on it, it takes you to the form. You fill the form and create the account. So you have a unique PMI ID, Project Management identification number, okay? So what you need is that identification number for you to now go back to Flutterwave for you to make payments. Like I said, we are running a promo of 50%. Ideally, you're supposed to be paying as a student to join a student membership. You're supposed to be paying about 32,000 Naira thereabouts, which is about 32,000 Naira thereabouts. So we have been able to, on your behalf, because PMI only receives payment through individual accounts in dollars, because it's an international, it's a global organization. So imagine people paying from over 300 countries and territories where we have members. We have over 1 million members in all continents in the world. So everybody cannot be paying in their dominated currencies, in their country dominated or territory dominated currencies. So they receive in dollars. But because of the FX issues we have in Nigeria, we've been able to help apply and create a link where people can pay in Naira. And that's the Flutterwave I put as I'm sharing on the screen right now, the third one. So you go to that link, right? Type it, HHP. Unfortunately, you can't just click here. So maybe someone at the admin end can just let me type it in the chat box, both on YouTube and also on YouTube, so that people can just click right away there. Okay, so once you click there, having created your account, because you will need information about your PMI ID when you are filling the form on Flutterwave. So once you do that, that's the end. And I think the cost right now, because of 50% application for the promo, is about 18,000 Naira. I'm sure that everyone hearing me should be able to, afford 18,000 Naira to start all the journeys I'm talking about here. It's like an investment you are making for your future. Okay, I did that, even paid much more than this, right? So, and here I am today, and every other of my colleagues too has done the same as well. So just take this opportunity to start. If you have any issue, you can always reach us personally. You can send a mail, you can send a chat, you can give a call. The promo is going to end next week, Thursday. I would not advise you to wait till next week, Thursday, right? Because Flutterwave is a third-party payment system to PMI. So we will collect all the processes. I mean, everyone that paid on Flutterwave, we have to remit them outside PMI payment system to PMI. So we are remitting in bulk. So that's why we'll advise, if you are paying in Naira, make sure you do it right now. This weekend, do it. So that by next week, early next week, we can start collating everyone. And before the Thursday, we'll have, help everyone register and fully register. So once you are done that, trust me, we have your details. Once you have done your registration, we'll have your details and we'll definitely reach out to you. And then we'll begin the journey together. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect. Thank you for that wonderful response.
Sorry, maybe I should say this. In case you don't feel comfortable paying in Naira, if you have dollar card, this other page that I just shared now, you can see all the codes there, the coupon codes for you to pay for the global, which is also definitely in 50% reduction, and also to join Nigeria chapter, which is totally free, 100% free. The two codes are here. So you can just quickly write down the codes so that you can apply when you are doing your payments in dollars. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Architect Bolaon. Thank you for that wonderful session. I want to also call on the president of Project Management Institute, in person of Mr. Paul Ngwe. Would love to hear from you and maybe your closing thoughts before you leave for the day.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So I think Bono has said everything. What I would just say to the youths that are watching on YouTube, I saw a lot of the questions. Of course, I was on YouTube posting some link for kickoff and then the registration link. I think there's not much to be said. The point is, if you want to succeed, and I'm not saying it out of by bragging, but if you really want to succeed in any endeavor in this world, basically in any endeavor, you need to be a project manager. And for the youth, it's learning about this at this early stage. You are very fortunate and opportune to have this information. A lot of people I know didn't have this information at their younger age. They got this information when they started working. So if you have it now, take advantage of it. There's a discount going on. Register. I think is there a link? Shared in the group where we can on YouTube where we can get the details of those who have attended this YouTube link, so I can also send them email communication. I say we have about 300 people.
Yes, people watching currently, and even more people coming off and on. But definitely, they are part of the audience which are still going to benefit from the promo. So the communication team are going to share all the information with them immediately after this session.
Okay, great. So so I think the promo is on. It's going to end next week, 29th, I think. So I would advise everyone, just 18,000. Yes, I saw some comments in the YouTube channel saying it's expensive and what have you. Well, it's you have to pay a price to have a better future, just like the way people paid the price to go to school. School was not free. Even if some states give free education, school is not so free. So I feel it's something that you should take advantage of, being a member. And we have a lot of things to offer. We have a lot of things we are planning for those who are student members, right? We even I had a call today about someone who's still planning to do a free CPM training. He hasn't finalized, but things of such are coming up. So I'll just say the first thing for anybody, or my last advice to anyone listening is go to pmi.org/register. I posted in YouTube link already. Register, create a profile, and take advantage of being a member. Just be a member first. That's the key thing. The good thing about PMI, unlike other professions like accounting and all that, you don't have to pass the exam first before you be a member. You can be a member and you have the benefits that everyone has said. So Bono has said all these things. I don't need to repeat it. My last words to you is just simple. Register and activate your membership. There's discount going on now. Take advantage of it because you only have it till next week. So with that, I hope to see all of you join the PMI community as project managers. Project management is a life skill. That's what I say. It's not just meant for tech guys or engineers. It's actually a life skill. Everybody on this call is a project manager. So that's all I have to say. Thanks, Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Paul, for the wonderful feedback and information. Really appreciate every bit of it. Dear participants, I believe it's been a wonderful session this morning. And like I said, this is just, I wouldn't even call it an introductory session now, because we are going to have an introduction of PF, what project management is. We're going to spend like 3 weeks. And hopefully in the month of October, late October, or if not November, early November, we communicate to each and everyone when we are going to have more advanced class on project management as it relates to various peers, people that are working on various projects towards sustainable lifestyle and social good for all. And really want to appreciate, on behalf of the leadership of SDSN Nigeria, we really want to appreciate you, sir, and wonderful facilitator, Architect Bola. I don't mind hijacking you to one of the institutions in Nigeria to start lecturing on project management. And what you've just saw this morning is what many institutions are for like 3 months or even over 3 month period, and being an exciting one indeed. Thank you very much, and Mr. President, and also all the members of PMI and leaders of PMI that were able to join this call this morning. Thank you very much. I will quickly address 1 or 2 things before we move on. And sorry, we have a leading issue with the second masterclass session. We might not be able to have that session this morning due to some reasons, the issue beyond issues regarding the facilitator. I mean, who's going to do the facilitation? We had some little issues this morning beyond his control. He won't be able to make it. So we might have to schedule the class. And the first part, which I want to talk about, the assessment. The assessment is not going to, we are not going to be having the first assessment this weekend again, because there is a core course we are supposed to take during the 2nd week, which was scheduled to the 4th week. And that's the that is Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, which details more about the 17 goals of sustainable development, and also the 169 targets and over 230 indicators. So part of that assessment is what everyone of you endeavor to study, and you learn, and keep learning. And don't just learn, also because the advocacy starts now. Whatever you learn, whatever you've had, try as much as possible to share it with others. Share it on social media. Let people, when people are seeing your status, when they are seeing your posts, they are also learning from it. And secondly, I want to talk about the individual projects and also the community development projects which we are going to embark on. We are going to work more and send some documents in that regard to each and every one. I believe you've all saw the attendance link because it has been shared. Please, the rule is it's not meant to be shared on the Telegram page or the WhatsApp platform. If we see anything of course, the page is going to be flagged. Please, once it's 30 minutes, you won't be able to access that attendance and evaluation form. The evaluation part is very important to us because that's the feedback we get. Information, all other information, please, you can share with us via email. Maybe you have any inquiry or questions you want to make confirmation about, you can share it with us on via email, or you can also send a message to any of the admin and communication officers. I believe it's been a wonderful session for each and everyone today, and I want to wish you a fulfilling weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day.
So that was this.
Hi, I'm Stephen Orr, and today we're going to talk about one of the most natural ways you can make your garden grow better. It's composting. Compost is one of those things that people are worried about because it's going to be hard to do, it's complicated, it'll smell funny, and it takes a long time. Now, if that's true, if you do it, the wrong way. The right way is to just take a very simple approach. We're going to do composting for beginners today, which is really trying to use some of the things from your refrigerator and your kitchen and your yard that normally would go into the landfill. And these items can take up to a quarter of the landfill's mass on a yearly basis. Start with stuff from your kitchen. What I love about composting is it's a great way to use the things in your refrigerator that you didn't quite get to, that start to turn or go bad. You don't have to feel wasteful about that. Also, anytime you're peeling anything, you can use all those peels, all those cucumber peels, any sort of skins off of fruits and vegetables. So all the vegetables that you have in your house, those are great for compost. Those are easy to do. Only one to kind of think about if you're a beginning composter is onions and garlic. Both those things, some people think repel earthworms, which are a vital part of the composting process. So I'd avoid those if you're just starting out. Another thing that I try to, as a beginning composter, I would avoid is eggshells. You can crush them up, but I find if you're just starting out and your compost is new, they don't break down as much. So you're going to have those little eggshell pieces in your compost when you pull it out. Composting is all about the microbial action of your compost pile. You can either just make a 3 foot by 3 foot compost pile on the ground, but there's also all sorts of compost makers you can use that are black plastic. The black plastic helps it heat up. Heat is really a vital thing for composting. That heat helps the microbes break down the organic matter. What do we put in our compost? We talked about vegetables, we talked about onions and eggs, eggshells as kind of advanced items. Same with citrus peels. Those can take a while. One of my favorite things is coffee grounds. If you drink coffee like I do every day, you actually accumulate quite a lot of coffee grounds. Those can go right in the compost. If you used unbleached filters, those can go in as well. Over here we have those two things that go in the compost and something in process. This is coffee grounds, and I like herb tea, so these are herbs from my garden, and after I make the tea, I put them in here. These are great for composting. You're going to want to combo your green items, which are wet, with your brown items, which are dry. So that's kind of the science. That's the only real science you need to think about with composting, is having the green and the brown together in the right amount. So start with the brown, add the green, and you just layer that up. So when you go and look at your compost pile, if it seems a little too wet and you smell anything at all, add more brown. If you go and you look at it and it seems dry, you might want to add more green, and you might even want to put some water in it to make it moist. It really should smell like good soil. As it's being made, this is kind of in process, this compost. It has a few leaves in it. It has some twigs in it. Those will never compost, so if you want to be strict with your compost, don't put those twigs in. But these leaves will all break down with the green and the brown, and ultimately you're going to have this beautiful, it's almost like chocolate cake. That's what some people talk about. It feels kind of like crumbled chocolate cake, and it smells great. It really just smells sweet. It smells like really great soil and slightly sweet. And so this is the black gold that gardeners are after. They're really after this compost that they can use in their garden. You can apply it to your flower beds. It's a very gentle fertilizer, and it really will help all your plants perk up. And at the end of the day, composting is one of the best ways to recycle, and it's also one of the best ways to have the healthiest garden you can have. we've talked about all the things that are good for the beginning composter. Here's some things that aren't good to compost, and that is any meat, dairy products. I personally avoid cooked items like oatmeal even, although that can work really well. But I find that some of these things can really make your compost go bad and start to really smell. Also, they do attract more animals and pests than you might want. So one way to accumulate all your good stuff that you have, all your peelings and tea and coffee grounds, is just to have a container in your kitchen. I just use a crock, like an earthenware pot that I put it in. It kind of forces me to deal with it more often. It's not very big. If you have a lot of waste or a medium amount of waste, this is a good one. You might have to empty it every few days, but it's a good way to just easily put it on the countertop, and then you can take it out to the compost pile. So if you're starting your compost pile out, I think one of the best ways to get all those microbes humming is to take some compost starter. You can buy this online from a variety of brands, and you want to get an organic compost starter that is full of microbes that are ready to go, and it has some alfalfa and kelp meal in there as well. And you can add that to your starter compost and then put some water on it, and then you do that once. You could do that several times a year or every other month. So after a few months in the compost bin, you'll have this great compost, which kind of looks like crumbled chocolate cake, and you can just spread it on your flower beds and in your pots. And with just these kitchen scraps and a little bit of time and the right microbes, you'll have the happiest garden you can have.
It happens to everyone. Waiting in line for your morning coffee, you scroll social media and news on your phone. What you find depresses you. Thousands of migrants are fleeing a civil war, risking their lives only to be turned back at borders. Speculations have sent the housing markets into a frenzy, and employment numbers are tumbling down. Journalists have uncovered a decades-long cover-up of child abuse by coaches and doctors within competitive gymnastics in your country. Closing the news app, you open your family group chat. Maybe one of your siblings has posted something funny, and at this rate, you could use some cheering up. The group chat has blown up overnight, and what you see makes your heart sink. Bushfires are raging again, and there's one burning only 2 suburbs over from where your cousins live. Everyone is frantic with worry. At this point, you walk away, coffee in hand, tense, miserable, and confused. You think, this can't go on. Something needs to be done. Someone needs to step up. We need a plan to fix all this social injustice, economic chaos, and environmental destruction. This is where the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, come in. Fixing the kinds of problems that bring your entire day down in the morning coffee line can't happen in just one way. The SDGs cover sustainability from different angles: socially, economically, and environmentally. They set global goals for the 3 Ps: people, planet, and prosperity. The SDGs form the heart of the 2030 Agenda, an action plan adopted by all 193 countries of the United Nations. They call for decent jobs, quality education, good health, gender and income equality, clean energy and water, biodiversity, and climate action. They aim to reach sustainable development by 2030. Governments play a key role in achieving these goals, but they're not the only players. Businesses, civil society, indigenous leaders, academia, and the general public all contribute as well. You might wonder where they came from. The SDGs were born in 2012 at the Rio Plus 20, a UN conference on sustainable development in Rio de Janeiro, which was the largest conference ever held by the UN. Until 2012, there were different international agreements that dealt with environmental challenges such as climate change and biodiversity loss. And there were the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs. Aim to achieve certain social targets in developing countries by the year 2015. The countries meeting at Rio Plus 20 decided that a more comprehensive set of universal goals was needed to tackle the urgent social, economic, and environmental challenges facing the world. This kicked off the broadest consultation ever run by the UN. An unprecedented effort was made to get input from as many people as possible, particularly those who don't often get a say in international agreements. Over 10 million people around the world participated in the consultations and helped shape the SDGs. Apart from national governments, major stakeholder groups that were consulted included women, children and youth, indigenous peoples, NGOs, local authorities, workers and trade unions, business and industry, scientific and technological community, and farmers. I am pleased to share some good news for people and planet. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said to a packed room of press delegates. The good news? After 3 years of negotiations and debate, 193 countries had agreed to a set of development goals more bold and ambitious than anything that has come before them. The SDGs. The due date for the SDGs is the year 2030, which makes the 2020s the decade to deliver. But how can we know if progress on any of these monumental issues has been made? The 17 SDGs are built on an evidence-based framework of 169 quantitative targets and 232 indicators that accompany them. This ensures that the SDGs are clear, concise, time-bound, and measurable, which helps governments and decision makers to include the SDGs in their planning. This means that we can keep track on each of the SDGs' progress. To achieve the SDGs, all countries are expected to set up policies and investment plans and to use the targets and indicators to track their progress. They then report their progress to the UN. This is done through voluntary national reviews. With the selection of countries reporting each year, most countries, including Australia, have already submitted their first VN